Hi guys, we are live for day 2. How's it going? Welcome back to the Love What You See in the Mirror free challenge. Before I dive into tonight's topic, I wanted to just point out that I'm in my sweats here. It's actually my pajamas, let's just be real. But okay, so this is kind of like my work uniform every night for my coaching work is I just get really comfortable. Got my obsessed sweatshirt from 80 Day Obsession, but, and then it's actually Superman pajamas. No, they're Wonder Woman. Oh my gosh, how could I make that mistake? Anyways, some of you might not care what I'm wearing, but it is a conscious choice, and some of you might be like, why is she showing up in sweats? So the reason that I did this thoughtfully tonight, but you know, I do this a lot of the time. Like, I'm never super made up. I don't do much to my hair. It's pretty much as low maintenance as possible because I prefer to spend my time on other things. And the reason I am even bringing this up is okay, so if I did get on a video and like really just get fancy, like spend a lot of time doing my hair, a lot of time applying makeup, like thinking about my outfit, there's kind of two angles that I could be coming at it from. So one could be, I want to look nice for you guys, just to show that, like, I mean, not that it's for me too, because I'm showing that like my business is important to me. It's worth spending time on to like really make the video a special occasion. And I think that would be just fine. It's not what I choose to do. It doesn't mean that I don't value you guys. There's, you know, a lot of prep that goes into this behind the scenes, even without that kind of aesthetic part of it. I prefer to keep it casual because I just want to show you that it is possible to feel confident and feel beautiful when you're completely dressed down and just like, I don't have foundation on. Like, you know, if you have freckles, let them show through. Like, be you and be confident in it. That's kind of the whole overriding theme of this challenge. Now, the second angle that I could come at it from, again, if I'm spending a lot of time putting on makeup, a lot of time planning my outfit, doing my hair, the angle could be that I feel inadequate and I feel that I need to cover things up. And I have definitely been there when I felt like I would see imperfections in my skin. I mean, even now, like, I can still point them out. Like, it's not that I don't notice them anymore, right? Got a little like acne scar here, and there's like a red burst blood vessel on my nose, and there's things that, you know, I've got some like lines around my eyes. So there's things that I at times in the past would have felt like I should cover up with makeup, and like it's just a reality of getting older. The quality of your skin is not as nice. By the way, now that I'm exercising regularly and eating better, my skin is pretty good. So it's not completely just like a fact of getting older that you have to accept, but there is some truth to that, right? But you also can take good care of your skin, you know, wash it, moisturize it, and then just, you know, get enough sleep, exercise, food. That's all things we're going to talk about in this challenge. But then once you've done those things, you have to let go and accept the situation as it is. It's like I was talking about yesterday. There are always ways you could be more perfect, right? This is like, I don't want to go too deep into this topic of, well, it is related to this too, though. Okay, so let's talk for a minute about the idea of perfection. So I have been one to say, like, perfection doesn't exist. And there's no such thing as perfection. In a sense, that's true, right? It's like we were talking about yesterday. Like, no matter how much you resemble a conventional standard of beauty, there's always something that's a little bit off. Maybe just as you see it. Maybe no one else even notices it. But like, I don't know, like, you know, say like your face is asymmetrical, or you have a few gray hairs, or whatever it might be for you. I'm not saying there's even anything wrong with gray hair whatsoever, but okay, there's something you could allow to bother you or not, right? Nobody's perfect. Okay, so I still stand behind that, but I'm reading a book that gave a little bit of a different way of looking at it. Namely, that we can accept the way we already are as perfect. Pretty cool, right? That like redefining perfection, how empowering is that? That not like completely rejecting this concept of perfection, but saying, I am perfect exactly as I am because this is how I am, you know? Like a definition of perfection that includes flaws and quirks, and is the way that you would think about your romantic partner, the person that you love, and you're like, yeah, okay, he has some flaws, but I just love him more than anything, and you know, that's part of who he is, and like, I love that too. I don't want to change him, you know, that kind of love, and thinking of your partner as like, yeah, he drives me crazy some days, but he's really perfect for me. So redefining perfection, I want you to bring that kind of love to yourself. So we're going to get into today's topic about food. And again, you know, I said yesterday, but I know people sometimes jump in, and I won't repeat everything, but in case you didn't catch yesterday's video, you can use this kind of in a podcast way that like, I know most of these will probably be longer videos. I hope the rest of the week, like day 1 and 2 will probably be the longest, but I never quite know. But it's just the topics I tend to have the most to say about that I really want to communicate and share with you guys. But so, you know, put it on while you're doing like folding laundry, doing dishes, cleaning, I don't know, like brushing your teeth, whatever, but use it like a podcast. And then, but I do also really appreciate when you guys share your thoughts in the comments while you're listening. I know like if you're listening while you're driving, please don't do that, but leave a comment or two, you know, when you get to your destination based on what you heard. The interaction, obviously I enjoy it, but you're going to get more out of it too if it's more of a conversation with all of you and not just me. All right, so before we dive into it, don't forget to sign up for the emails. The link is in like every post about the challenge. I'm going to put it in the comments as well, and you'll be getting reminder emails an hour before the video. I think that's a time frame that's most helpful. If you want it, I don't know, just you guys let me know. If you'd rather have it like in the morning, I can schedule it for any time. But I think 1 hour before is a little more where people don't have time to forget about it. So reminders an hour before. I'm also posting in this group, so you can turn on notifications so you get notified an hour before and again when the video starts. The replays are always available. This is being recorded right now, so you'll be able to get the replay. And then lastly, don't forget there is a discussion thread for each day. And it basically has, oh shoot, I don't have the journal. I'm going to run and get it. Yeah, I don't have the questions off the top of my head. Anyways, so the discussion threads are not exactly the same as the journal prompts, but they'll have some things in common. And the discussion thread is for you to share your experience and again, have a little bit of a discussion with me and the other participants. It's like the same photo, but it'll say day 1, day 2, day 3. Okay. And then that's how you officially participate in the challenge, and you get a prize in the mail from me. And in order to get a prize, you've got to be officially signed up for the emails, and that's how you get the journal as well. Just going over the format again, because I know it's changed a little bit from, you know, past free challenges, and I just want to make sure everyone understands how this works. All right, so today we're going to talk about food and nutrition, and this is a topic that I keep coming back to. It's really one of the foundations of my coaching. If you were in last month's free challenge, it was all about building strength, and I spoke about nutrition from that perspective, that you know, there's a certain way you can eat to help you build muscle and build strength more efficiently. So that was what last month's you know, nutrition day was all about. And I'm just really fascinated overall with how nutrition affects us emotionally, physically, with our health. And so this is something like I don't, you know, never say never, but it's like unlikely that I would do a challenge that doesn't involve nutrition in some way. And by the way, I'm going for an advanced nutrition certification starting next month, and I'm super excited just to learn more and be able to share more insight with you guys. All right, but let me take you way back. So my approach to food and like how I eat in my own life is very different from what it once was. So I had and still sometimes have a sweet tooth. I say had cautiously because it's been like such a huge part of my personality and my life, and it's felt like an addiction for really the majority of my life. You know, I'm the kind of person who would open a package of Oreos to have one, and pretty soon the bag is just empty. Like that was me. Binging and no off switch. Okay. And like that was my reality for many, many years on pretty much a daily basis. So I'm really curious. I don't know if people feel comfortable sharing this. Remember, it's a private group, but I know some of you are new here. Some of you have been here longer, but I would love to know, like, is that something where you're like, yeah, I do that too? Or is that something that you just can't even understand, like how somebody could be that way? You know, I understand it might sound disgusting. Like it kind of sounds disgusting to me too, but it's also very understandable. So like, where do you fall on that spectrum? I'm just always curious because I know there are people out there who can't relate to that at all. And that's like, kind of consider yourself lucky. I know we have all have our different vulnerabilities, right? But if yours is not sugar, I'm a little bit jealous. So anyway, I first kind of discovered that when I was a teenager. And at the time, I wasn't very happy, had a lot going on in my family, just turmoil and like emotional, you know, teenage girl stuff too. We all go through it to some degree, right? But I remember like this particular pan of peanut butter bars that my mom had made, and I just remember not stopping until I finished it. And I had this like beautiful numbness that came over me. And it was like, oh my gosh, like I don't feel that emotional pain and anxiety and desperation anymore. And after that, I was hooked. And I used sugar and carbs that way, even continuing until very recently. So this has been the process I'm going to describe for you, and the advice I'm going to give you based on my own experience has been something that's happened over a period of many years. So that's really my first tip for you. I'll have like 3 to 5 depending on how I break them up. But the first one is really just to be patient. As you hear me describing this night and day difference, just know that it will not happen overnight. This is really something that I see with my clients, that they get so frustrated with themselves. And I get it because I've been there, but you can't let yourself get frustrated because it makes you want to give up. Just know that it's one small change at a time. It's a really, really stubborn problem, actually, food addiction and emotional eating, very stubborn. And if you let yourself get discouraged, then it's much, much harder to change, and it comes more slowly. Like if you stay hopeful and make one small change at a time. I'll tell you a little bit more. I'll give you some examples of what that might be. But if you make one small change at a time, gradually you will be amazed at how much changes. So why am I even talking about emotional eating in terms of loving what you see in the mirror? So we talked yesterday about exercise and just general self-care behaviors, right? So eating, I would say, could be considered a self-care behavior, but eating is kind of special, right? Because it has so much, or can have so much effect on our weight and our appearance, and how we feel. The key message I really want you to take away today is eating is a behavior that communicates a message. So, for example, I used to be someone who would starve myself, and that, skip meals, like try to go all day without eating. Okay, that sends a message to my body saying you're not worth nourishing. It sends a message. It's a parent-child thing we were talking about yesterday, right? There's kind of two I don't know, is it like alter ego or like two personalities? I don't know exactly what the term from psychology would be, but like within you, there's the parent, the responsible one, and the child that wants to be taken care of and is having the more moment-to-moment experiences, right? So, your inner child, if your inner child is being starved and not allowed to eat when you're hungry, remember, there is a spirit inside you. Like there's a part of you that just wants to be happy and well taken care of and content. And that part is going to fight for itself. That's your inner child. I don't know. I'm sorry to get all like psychoanalysis on you, and I'm psychoanalytical. I'm probably like butchering actual psychological concepts. If there are psychologists in here, like please expound on what I'm saying, but I'm just sharing like how I've come to understand these concepts. So if it doesn't quite line up with technical psychology terms, I apologize for that, but I also would love to hear more. Like, I think that stuff is really, really interesting. So my like amateur psychologist understanding this. All right. And then by the same token, if you are just like eating junk 24/7, like I used to, you know, like candy for breakfast and lunch and ice cream for dinner, like not joking. That was my diet, right? If you're just eating junk all the time, what kind of message is that sending? Again, like you're the responsible adult taking care or not taking care of your inner child, and you are sending yourself the message that you're not worth taking care of. So I liken it to a parent who says, I love you. Those are their words, but they don't take care of their kids. Actions speak louder than words, and your body is listening to how you treat it. So that is what nutrition has to do with loving what you see in the mirror, okay? Until we make these shifts to treating ourselves with love, actions speak louder than words. So what you're telling yourself, the messages are important. Your actions are also important. As that prerequisite to really looking in the mirror and saying, hey, I am happy with what I see. So that's why nutrition is an important piece. Okay, so like I was saying before, night and day now from how I used to eat and my just very unhealthy relationship previously with food. It healed over a period of years, and I don't want this story to get too long, so I'm just trying to think like which details I want to share with you guys before I go into my additional tips aside from being patient. So I went from like, I mean, I shared really just terrible binge and starve kind of habits in kind of various steps of realizing I don't want my life to be this way anymore. So what I first did was I stopped depriving myself. So this is an example of some specific incremental steps you can take, okay? I quit skipping meals. Now, I still have this weird thing, and I think it's, again, like, my mindset wasn't there, so I couldn't take the actions. I didn't love myself yet, so I wasn't treating myself like I loved myself. Does that make sense? So I stopped skipping meals, okay? Then I was communicating the message, you deserve to eat when you're hungry. And that was a good thing. But then when mealtime would come, I'd have my healthy lunch and I just didn't feel like it. And I would buy something from the vending machine again, candy bars, chips instead, and like throw the food away. And this is still that subconscious thing, or it was. Like, I mean, this is something I figured out in therapy. I went to Overeaters Anonymous. Like, that's actually one of my tips, is like plugging into a support system that can help you with this, because it is such a thorny issue. That's actually tip number 2. Let's go there. And, you know, coaching is one thing that can also help with this. So I have something that I'm actually introducing. Well, I'll tell you tomorrow. There's a program I've designed where we can work on this. But talking about nutrition specifically, I have something I'm developing for my VIP customers. and it's called Emotional Eating Detective Sessions. And it's basically where it's, we'll get on the phone. Like most of my coaching is in an online group, and it's like, you put up a post or you leave a comment and I will comment on it later, but the exchange is not in real time. So I think with emotional eating, having more of a therapy model where I'm able to ask questions and you're able to answer, and I can notice your tone of voice. I can notice which words you choose and reflect them back to you, and point out things that you might not be hearing in your own language. I think that can be really helpful in terms of you having insights and breakthroughs. And so that's going to be something that I'm offering. And again, I mentioned, I know that it's a big jump if you're brand new in this community to I don't know if I want a VIP membership, but it is an option. It's kind of the top of the line option. And I did just want to mention it because I think those emotional eating detective sessions can be so helpful with this issue specifically. All right. So like I said, I stopped skipping meals, but was still had some really disordered eating patterns, and therapy, Overeaters Anonymous, plugged into some support, and things were slowly getting better. But I would still find that at times of crisis, I would turn to candy, I would turn to sugar to go numb. I craved that feeling when the emotions got to be too much. And even up until, it would happen kind of less and less as I was handling my own emotional needs and communicating better and allowing myself to rest when I needed to or take a break when I needed to, just small things like that, self-care. It was helping the emotional eating become less and the binges become less frequent. But again, at really intense times, it was still happening. So lately, really over the past, I don't know. So it's been a process of, I always was interested in nutrition and nourishing my body. I'm someone who's kind of paranoid about getting cancer and stuff like that. So I do a lot of reading about health and nutrition and the links and holistic healing, links between the foods we eat and avoidance of disease, anti-aging, all of those things. So like I said, there was some self-sabotage because I prepare the healthiest foods that money can buy, and then I would throw it in the trash and eat a candy bar. What do you think of that? And I used to feel a lot of shame about that, but I know now that there are, probably some of you in this group have done that. You don't have to tell me. I love if you feel comfortable telling me, but I talk about it now because I really doubt that I'm alone in that experience. So how I finally put an end to that, and also, I think this is the biggest question I hear from all of you. What to do if you have good intentions, but you keep kind of rebelling against yourself and your own, best laid plans. I talked about yoga yesterday, a mindfulness practice, yoga or meditation, something that's helping you really tune into your thoughts and your feelings. So yoga isn't just stretching, right? It's about being present in the moment. And hey, Melissa, thanks for the love. I know you know all about the power of yoga, but it's not just stretching. There's a mindfulness component, right? It's about being present in the moment, and this is part of what helps us to get out of those intense emotions, or not get out of them, but be with them is really the power. Being with those intense emotions and realizing that we can feel them. We can allow ourselves to feel them. We don't have to numb out. We don't have to escape. We can be present and we can withstand it. And I think that's, for a lot of people, maybe as kids, it was too much and we weren't taught coping mechanisms to handle these crazy emotions. But as adults, we can learn to. It takes time sometimes. But a mindfulness practice can really help with that. And it's one of the things that has been helpful for me. There are times when I'm super upset and I always do better on the weekends with food. Like I don't get tempted by candy very much. And I realized it was because of pressure I was putting on myself at work. Okay. And pressure to be productive all the time. So, one of my big kind of breakthroughs was, in 2010, after I was engaged to someone else before my husband. I canceled my wedding and I was like, okay, this is a bad situation and I don't want to be in a situation like this again. So I need to like really do this work. And that's when I went to therapy and everything. But that was the first time that I gave myself permission. If I'm at work and I'm having a hard time, I can take a break and go call a friend, or like I can just stop what I'm doing and go for a walk around the block. And like it sounds really simple, but it really helped me. And before I felt like I couldn't do that. I felt like, oh, I'm going to get fired. It was totally pressure I was putting on myself, like to just basically not be human and not have emotions, but just be this like machine of productivity all the time. And then of course you're not productive, right? Like I was sitting there unable to concentrate. I could concentrate so much better after I just went for a walk, did a little journaling, talked to somebody. So giving myself permission was really, really big for that. So I can't quite remember how I got here. Oh yeah. So like mindfulness practice and learning that you can withstand your emotions, you can tolerate them and you can respond to them. It's when you like stuff them down or avoid them that you're then tempted to use food to kind of correct them or stuff them or balance them or escape them. All right. And then I said yesterday, affirmations. And that is, continuing theme throughout the week, but it's helped me so much with every aspect of loving myself. Just like, knowing that I'm always okay and I'm like acceptable and lovable. Again, sometimes I feel like the old, like self-help, like parody on Saturday Night Live, right? Like I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people love me. But I know that there's like something cheesy about it, but it has really, really helped me. Actions speak louder than words, but like both parts are necessary. So the more you say the words, then you're like, oh, you start to notice, I'm not treating myself like someone who loves themselves would do. And then you start to think, what can I do differently here? Like for me, it was honoring my emotions, going for the walk. So keep it up with those affirmations. And if you haven't written some down that you want to work with, like the mantra that I mentioned yesterday. So I'll talk about this more tomorrow, choosing affirmations and how to do that. Part of it also was I made an ironclad commitment to speak up for myself. And that was something new for me too. In a lot of the books about eating disorders and emotional eating issues, they dive into, or they explore the relationship between eating and communication, right? One is like taking the world in, and the other one is expressing yourself out to the world. So if we feel like we can't express ourselves, like we wouldn't be heard, or our feelings are unacceptable, our thoughts are unacceptable, no one's listening, no one wants to hear it, we literally stuff our mouths. At least that's how it was for me. Like when I read that analogy, it really, really rang true. So, I mentioned that as something that just might be helpful for you too. And it's part of the self-love mindset piece. But if you're finding that eating, like you just can't stop emotional eating, it's something to look at. That are you really communicating clearly, asking for what you need? Of course, still communicate kindly, but you have to be assertive. People aren't going to guess what you need if you don't tell them. And it's something I think is especially hard for women because there are certain like societal messages that we're supposed to put our needs last and like just ignore them and think about other people's needs. That doesn't really make for a happy you though. I'm just saying. All right. And now this goes along with being patient, but count the small successes. is my last tip. So instead of focusing on the ways that you're not perfect and the ways that you still think you're failing, focus on how far you've come. Like I said, I still was like binging on candy like relatively recently, and I can't even say that it will never happen again. I hope that it never does in my lifetime, but it's really crazy to me like how long it's been without a binge, and like I never thought I would see this day. So there was a long time where I felt like I was getting better, but I still had behaviors going on that really, really frustrated me. And, you know, I felt discouraged. I was encouraging you not to get discouraged. But that temptation to like just kind of dive into being discouraged is always there. Especially if you're a perfectionist, which is part of what can lead to eating disorders, ironically. But so count the small successes so that you don't feel as discouraged, and really celebrate them and celebrate your progress. The last piece of it was, you know, when I was talking about like last month, the eating to build muscle and eating for strength. I've been using food in a very specific way, and I realized that even though I stopped skipping meals, I still wasn't eating enough, and I was kind of falling prey to that societal mentality, especially for women, that eating a little less is always better. And I just realized like I wasn't getting enough protein, wasn't getting enough vegetables, enough fat for my body for an active lifestyle, and I was setting myself up for failure. And that is really, it ties back to, again, not loving what you see in the mirror, right? Because if on a day-to-day basis, I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat this much, and I make a plan. And then every single day, I'm eating treats above and beyond what I planned. It starts to feel like I have no self-control. Can anyone relate to this? And then this like spiral starts in my head of like, why can't I control myself? Why do I have no willpower? Like, you know, why can't I kick this problem? Like I'm just, you know, weak, lazy, undisciplined. Those kinds of words start flying around. And when that's how you think of yourself, you're not going to look in the mirror and go, I love her. So you got to find a way to turn it around. And again, I know that you can do it. It's not going to be overnight. But part of the way that I did it was finally starting to really nourish my body by eating more. So I just throw that out as one more thing to consider. Like, even if you are someone who you feel like you overeat, or you know that you overeat, if you're overweight and you know that how you're eating is causing that and it's because of eating too much. Even then, take a really hard look at, are you eating enough of the right foods? And this is something, I'll tell you more again about the program I've developed to help work on these issues tomorrow. And I'm excited to share those details with you guys. But this is something that I work a lot. I work on a lot with my clients, because it's kind of a puzzle, right? Like you change one piece and some other things shift. And, you know, it's something we can work on for a period of months or even years to find the solutions, but it really, really is worth it for how much better you're going to feel emotionally and physically. Anyways, but eating the right things, as I say, like for most people, it means eating a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean protein sources, what am I forgetting? Healthy fats, right? So those are kind of the main, like getting processed foods out of your diet. It's not rocket science, but most of us in like today's modern busy lifestyle have some room for improvement with what we're eating, right? So again, even if you feel like you overeat, consider eating more healthy food and see if it helps with your cravings. But most of this video, I just want to point out, I haven't been talking much about protein, fat, carbs. Like I haven't really been talking the nuts and bolts of nutrition. And that's because I think that emotional eating, well, okay, so stopping emotional eating isn't always, or it's only partly about nutritional nuts and bolts, right? A lot of it is an emotional thing. So yeah, I kind of digressed from my outline, so I'm just trying to figure out what direction to go to wrap everything up for you guys. But maybe it seemed like so much more insightful when I was writing the outline. So emotional eating is an emotional problem, and you have to look at the emotional factors. But recognizing that it leads to, for some people, being overweight. And so then you might look in the mirror and think, well, okay, I've got to lose weight to love what I see in the mirror. But it really has to be the other way around, that you have to love what you see and treat your body with love through what you're eating. And now, often when that happens, here we go. Here's how we tie it all up. Often when that happens, we start eating healthier, the weight comes off, right? And there's obviously like an energy caloric component, right? But part of it is hormonal too. And, there's all sorts of, we hear about metabolic syndrome. That's something that can happen when you're very overweight, like pre-diabetes and kind of a host of other things that go along with it. But many of those start to reverse, partly through weight loss and partly through the better nutrition, like improved lipid profile in your blood. So the weight loss is, think of it more as, again, if you're someone who is overweight, but think of the weight loss as like a side effect of the work that you're doing. Think of that, don't think of that as the goal. Maybe I need to I'm thinking about this more now that my monthly check-in with my clients includes a lot of different ways of measuring success, but I don't know. Maybe we need to stop even looking at weight loss, because it's a side effect. It's not like the main event. So that's really the main message that I want you to take away, that if you can reframe nutrition as another way to show love to your body, and reframe it, get away from thinking about it as punishment. It's so hard to describe, I think, because I don't know how many, it starts when we're so young, right? Eat your vegetables. How many of you had your parents say that? And eating the vegetables is, it's like punishment. It's not punishment, but it's something you had to endure to get to dessert, right? That's how foods were framed from early on. So we have a lot of work to do in unwinding these beliefs that have been with us since childhood. But although I don't always still love the taste of broccoli or kale, if I wanted ice cream, it is easier now for me to feel the difference. 3 hours later, the next day, how will I feel if I eat, mineral rich leafy greens versus how will I feel if I eat ice cream? And it's a form of self-care. So I'm putting that out there as kind of, that's more like the ultimate goal, is the approach to food rather than weight loss. I don't know. Let me know what you think of that. And let me know, does that even seem possible for you? Could you ever feel that way about vegetables? What do you think? All right. I think that was pretty much the end. Let me just make sure I didn't skip anything. Yeah. So in conclusion, it's not about losing weight in order to love what you see in the mirror. It's about loving what you see in the mirror because you treat yourself with love through the food that you eat. So hopefully that tied it all together for you guys. Let me know if you have questions. And oh yeah, I said I was going to get the journal. Okay, I'm going to run upstairs real quick and look at your journaling prompts because I forgot to bring them down here. 1 second. All right, here we are. Okay, so for day 2, and again, it's like today, go through your day, but you could do this tomorrow, obviously. Hey, Latoya, thanks for the love. Thanks for getting on. Okay, so as you go through your day, take a few moments to jot down what you're feeling before and after each meal. What trends do you notice? Does eating make you feel satisfied? Is any guilt present? How about fear about future meals and how you may or may not live up to expectations? So this comes from kind of my experience that I was describing to you of like in the morning setting out with this intention of what I was going to eat throughout the day, and then afterwards feeling guilty. And part of the reason for this journal topic is to help you if you're really in denial around the food that you're eating. It may not be an easy thing to face, but facing it is really the first step to undoing the habit. Like, we have to be really willing to kind of just to accept. I didn't like the fact that I was eating a pint of ice cream for dinner. It was really, really hard to face, but I had to kind of just sit with my shame and breathe through it and say, you know what, like, it doesn't make me a bad person. Like, it's not hurting anyone else. It's only hurting me. And so, like, I need to face the fact that this is happening and address it. Okay, so that's what this exercise is for. And I encourage you to really do this with every meal. Start with one day, but, you know, continue it across multiple days and even months and maybe even years. If that's how long it takes. Okay, and then the second exercise, during one meal, sit quietly and eat without any distractions and without doing anything else. During this meal, really tune into the sensory input you're experiencing. This exercise, there's more in the journal page, like more kind of guidance for how to do this, but I'm not going to read it all to you. This exercise may be very uncomfortable, and that if you're feeling that, it's a sign that there is some denial going on, and that's okay. It's common, and you're doing something about it. If you're someone who's always watching TV, even reading, working, maybe watching this video while you eat your dinner, but if you're someone who's always doing something else, first of all, I can completely relate to that. But if you feel super anxious and like twitchy when you try to eat without doing anything else, there just may be something going on that you want to look at. Even if emotional eating is not a problem for you, but especially if it is, sitting and breathing and slowly eating and really being present with your experience, that could be enough to really start to shift things for you. So I encourage you to work with that. And those are your prompts for today. The discussion thread is going up right after this, and it's going to be just basically asking you about your experience with those exercises. So go and do them and report back, and I can't wait to hear what you think. I'll see you tomorrow.